See, we like to keep everything drama filled, and it fuels the thirst for chaos. That's what it does. That's what it does. So I'm just pulling up. I seen something by Vic Mensa, and it was pertaining to Trump bombing Nigeria, and he was saying that it was due to the Christians being being I guess targeted over there. But I seen maybe a month ago or a month and a half ago that they was showing like a dumpster dumping bodies in a field, and they were saying that they was dead bodies, but they really wasn't. They was actually like statues of something. They was like stiff as a board. You do have rigor mortis and things like that that set in after a certain time, but what it was them giving you an idea that there was acts of terror going on, and they even had showed a particular some guy, and he had a certain thing where he was sitting down, and then they showed him being shot, like maybe like um Charlie Kirk, and it was staged. It was a staged thing, you know. So that's the reason why I state that some people have to voice certain things, because the truth is going to come from them, from eyes that see, as opposed to it coming from um, a politically appointed adversary, somebody that's appointed to speak against certain things, because the spirit of you getting it is not going to come out of them. What's going to come out of them is a fuse. It's like a rage that has a fuse to it. Once the fuse is gone, then there's no longer any kind of response to it. So it becomes fused. It's not going to explode. It's just a fuse, and once that fuse blows out, then the whole discussion is over with. That's the same thing when you have certain political events, like the George Floyd, the Trayvon Martin, the Mike Browns, and all these events that transpire, and then after a certain point, after a certain period of time, there's no longer a feel about it. Because for me personally, I still feel some type of way about Jordan Neely, and that's not going to be something that you could just brush over and say, that it was justified. He went to court, he won, is justified. No, you know, that man was targeted, and because there's a people who don't know, or maybe they do know, that there's systems that are set up, and they are profiting from certain ills of society, and because there's no rebuttal to it, it's going to be persistent. And that's just what it is. We do have the peace walk, but we do see that Trump, um let's see what this guy says. you know as you can see, this is politically motivated, and you're not, these people, it's a joke to some people. This is the reason why change isn't going to be brought forth, because no one wants change. The people don't really want change. If they did, they would simply change. It's not a hard thing to do. Change is really not hard. It's a decision that you make to do it, and then you put it into action, and then there's change. But we have the wrong people giving you room to, or wiggle room for you to change, and because it's not in them, you're not really getting it from them. You see what I'm saying? You're not really getting change, because these people don't want to change, because if you did, you would see it being manifested in this world. You would see change everywhere you go. But there's something set up to make you believe that there's change being ushered in. But if the people that's already established are good, and there's systems around them that are not, and if those systems around them were to improve, that may affect their status. You understand? So that's the reason why most people are apt to change, because when placed in a position to change, or to bring forth change, they're reluctant to, because it may affect their construct. So I've seen this particular person, you know you know and I did see this before, so I really never knew that was him, but he did, he raises a lot of key issues, and that's commendable to raise these issues. But when you're doing it from a standpoint of not just bringing awareness, but from a superficial standpoint, and you're given the ability to reach people, like you can say, this is what I'm saying, he has an ability to reach people with the amount of people that subscribe or follow, 100% recommended. If this was a threat to the establishment, which Facebook is a part of the establishment, you would not have this. They would not allow you to, to piss on their platform. That's one thing that you would not be able to do, especially if it's going to affect them in any kind of way where you would turn people against them. Only thing you can do is raise up engagement against it. But as far as turning people away from certain things, they would prevent that from ever being seen. Because me, like I stated, I can still post things places, give my opinion about certain things, and my comment is removed. My comments are still removed. So that only indicates that you're still an outsider. You're still, your input, it really might, have an effect on certain people. It really might change, people's ideas or mindset, or it may even help people, so we don't really want that, so we have our own catalog of people that we use, to dish this out, to spew that type of information. You be quiet, you don't say nothing, and that's one thing that I just recently seen, with some Hebrew Israelite, and he was discussing the New Year, Happy New Year's music in the background, and he's telling you, you know, the New Year's is such and such, and so we've been following the New Year's for such and such and such and such, and then you know now we got to work. The spring is when the New Year's. Oh, come on, dog! I stated that almost 3 years ago, you know, and since then I've seen maybe like 3 or 4 other people come out with the same content, and then they also, you know, that's all over the place. But when you state it, you're giving people not from a position of, you know, my religion is right, your religion is wrong, but from a standpoint of allowing them to say that, hey, this is this is correct, this is not correct. At one point in time, this what it was, and this is what it is now. Now, do you want to continue to follow this, or do you want to follow that? But you would give it to them from a religious standpoint, and that would, you know, it would fuel those in that religion like, yeah, we know we're the truth, and you right on. But to other people that are not a part of that religion, that would stir up conflict with them. It would stir up debate with them. It would cause animosity amongst people. It's still division. It's still divisive. Like, you can state something from a neutral standpoint, and any and everybody can relate to it. But when you state something from a religious standpoint, this religion is against it. If you state something from a political standpoint, that political party is against it. If you state something from a gang perspective, that gang is apart from it. So it has to come from a neutral standpoint in order for it to generate and have an effect on the masses. Because if it comes from him and he's that, I'm not with that. If it comes from her and she's that, I'm not with that. But you know, I seen that, and you know, this is something that's still going on, you know, to this day with me. You know, you can post something, then go back, and whatever you posted is no longer there. You know, whether you go through the comments, you know, they got the most recent, then they have all the comments, then they have relevant comments. It's not in there. Happens on YouTube. Happens all over the place. You know, so it's something very, you know, intriguing. Not only intriguing, powerful, and not only powerful but intimidating. That's about you and what you have to say about certain topics. You know, especially topics of discussions. You know, when you spoke about how the peace walk in itself, you know, was a good thing. But what I do see is that, you know, it's a certain sorority around that, and they're only visiting certain areas. Is this something that was set up by them, or is it something set up, or is it something organic that's strictly organized by Buddhist monks? You know, because Buddhist monks, they are not something to just sneeze at. These are very disciplined people. You know, these are very disciplined and well. They have patience. They have a certain level of knowledge that far surpass the average person's knowledge. So you could get that from them if it's genuine. But if it's something that's organized and orchestrated by something else, then you might not get that from them. These might not even be real Buddhist monks. You know, these might not even be real Buddhist monks. I seen one pull out a phone and take pictures. You know, and Buddhist monks are vehemently against any kind of worldly possessions, any kind of worldly things. You know, to take a picture, and I'm not saying that they don't have it in them to take pictures, but you know, that's just my understanding. And recently, I seen them go into a rural area, making a house stop, making a house visit, you know, And the house visit that they stopped in, these people were, in the sorority, in the fraternities. So you're not, you first and foremost, you're only speaking the truth. And anybody that hates the truth, you can't possibly, you know, love. If you hate the truth, you can't possibly love. So if you do know that, this guy is speaking the truth, he did make a pit stop at one of their house, and these were, them people, and if they are not allowing, or maybe the people responsible for you not having any kind of reach, then like I said, these are the people that's responsible for keeping people stagnant and being a thorn in the side to change. It's not allowing change to be something that is affecting people, but the opposite. Stagnation and continuously repeating a cycle over and over and over again. When you're prompted to redeem yourself, you're prompted for redemption from even the wars and violations against human right violations. All these things you're prompted to be redeemed from, so you can move forward. You're not going to move forward without addressing those things. So these are some things that have to be addressed. And who else is going to address it? You're going to get, your own to address it, when they're the ones that's 9 times out of 10 the culprits. Or are you going to get those that are neutral, that are neutral to any and everything, that has experience with any and everything, that has first-hand account and experience of any and everything that you can see. So this is what you have to acknowledge. And we did see that, this guy, for instance, he definitely states a lot of the war in Chicago is just an extension of Civil War, which is correct. Which is correct. Which is correct. He always grab the orange off the tree. Why did Trump really bomb Nigeria? Please don't tell me you're drinking the Kool-Aid of U.S. bombs as humanitarian aid. So he and he has the but
those same groups have actually killed many more Muslims. Boko Haram is stupid, point blank. These niggas' name means books are bad. They can't be smart people. But don't you think it's interesting that Trump keeps taking a moral concern with places that happen to have massive reserves of oil? Venezuela, drugs, Iran, Israel, Nigeria, Christians? Well, what's the common denominator between all these places? Oil very well may not be the driving factor in this attack. But Nigeria has rare earth minerals and a very corrupt government. They embody that meme where dude was like, corruption is not bad. If I am a part of that corruption,
I do remember that. See, I do remember that. Is that corruption is not bad if he's a part of that corruption. So that's the whole. That's not just his standpoint. That's a lot of people's standpoint. Corruption is not bad as long as I'm benefiting from the corruption. I did see and hear that from an African person. I'm not sure who it was, but he did say that. And you see that they have a voice, and he has reach. This has 25K, 24,000 likes, 1.7 comments. But what is the standpoint that people have that's that's rallying against this? At the same time, this is just 21 hours ago, and Trump bombed, or United States, because this is the president that you choose. This is the president that runs your country, America. And, so being that this is a president that is representing you, you bombed, you bombed Nigeria. You bombed the whole country in the interim of a peace movement. That's why I said, why are they just going through schools and these rural towns and, to make a statement of peace? You should march through, the White House, and the White House, and affect them and get some sort of awareness to them that, they have to be more kind, deal with passion and unity, not being opposed to Muslims, and Muslims not being opposed to Christians, even though they're all one and the same, because they do have a common thing, and they have a common thing, which is an Abrahamic origin. So why deal with division when it's all the same? Same thing with the Hebrew Israelites and the Christians. Why deal with division when you are all basically the same thing? And again, we have peace movement that's supposed to trigger a response in people and prompt people for peace and change, and peace and change. But we still have a growing or escalating thing where we're not getting that type of attention brought to areas that need it. We had online, we had this man, and he choked his daughter, beat his daughter, and they recorded it, and it became a growing thing online, and I'll touch on that. But you want to understand why people are more so recorders as opposed to doers, and opposed to reaching out and touching people, and that's what I really wanted to understand, because here you have fear and confusion in Nigeria village hit in U.S. Strike, as locals say no history of ISIS in that area. Like, son, why would y'all bomb over here if there's no ISIS over here? But because this is what's being shown to the American citizens and putting people out that has influence over people, and saying that we commend Trump for standing up for the Christians in Nigeria, and you have to understand that that's not practical, and it's not what it is. This is to make it a religious thing, because again, Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. It's the biggest religion in the world. So to play to the people and state that this is a Christian thing that would put Christians behind him in defense of a terrorist attack, which that's what it becomes. It becomes an act of terror when you bomb a particular place. You bring terror to those people. If there's bomb falling out the sky, you're bringing terroristic, those are terroristic acts that bring terror to people. And again, you've seen the guy state that Nigeria is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and it is. It's very corrupt, and like I said, corruption is the impetus for a lot of these nations, because it's all corrupt. It's all corrupt, and it's so corrupt that it doesn't believe that it could ever clean its hands. And that's the thing. Some of us have the power to forgive. You get it? Some of us have the power to forgive. So through some people, you can be forgiven for any and all transgressions. You don't understand that, you know. And especially when you're dealing with Christianity, Christ gave you the authority to forgive. Whoever forgive will be forgiven. Whoever you don't forgive won't be forgiven. And that's one thing that I stated before, because we have a distorted view of what these things mean. What does these things mean? And because we're not having an understanding of them, we're not really getting it. We're not really getting it. We spoke about when there was the guy that was walking up the street and he got shot with an arrow, and there was people in the comments saying that you should turn to Jesus and this, that, and the third, or Jesus is and that's their belief. But what the thing is that's a scapegoatism. And what if you don't understand what a scapegoatism? That is shifting the weight on somebody completely different, on a religion. Fall into line with a religion and all this would change. But you have to have the same authority that the religion gives you, and that is to heal the sick. One of those things is to heal the sick. And if the world is sick and you have the authority to heal it, but you're not, but shifting the weight on something else, then you're kind of the culprit. You're kind of responsible. That's kind of, negligence. Because you, as a person who knows that, to shift the weight over there and say, fall in line with this and everything will change. No, you already fell in line with it. And if you, amongst all the rest of the people, aren't doing anything about it, then that's negligence on your behalf. That is negligence, because you do have the power to heal the sick and to trample over scorpions and to lay hands on people and heal them. Whether it's people or places or situations, you have the authority to lay your hands on that and heal it. Whether it's a place that needs peace, you can lay your hands on that and bring peace over there. That's not what that means. Or does it mean sick, like like coronavirus and AIDS and hepatitis and cancer and stuff like that? Is that the form of sick that we're discussing, or is it sickness in the world? Like everywhere you look on Facebook, do you have the ability to show up and bring forth understanding? This is what I do. This is the reason why you're needed on there, because with me you're going to get a different perspective, and an honest perspective that's uncommon, because you're dealing with, I want to say, otherworldly wisdom, from wisdom from beyond. This is what happens when some people come back. They come back with wisdom from beyond, So do you understand that some people are needed in discussions on these platforms to bring some sort of difference to the monotonous discussion and the common reaction? You have to have an uncommon reaction, with some wisdom in it that's going to stir up thought and prompt some people to change. And this is why they have trolls that come on there to shut you down. And then they have other people that come on there to like your post as the kiss on the cheek. Oh, that's the kiss of death. So when they see that person that liked that post, now they come and shadow ban your post, and whatever you post, they take it, and then they have somebody else say the same exact thing. I've seen that. I noticed that a few times, especially when I used to have my cousin in my vicinity, and he would like my post, and then he'd be the only person that liked the post. And this is the one that put the angry face on, you know, the 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 picture with the Illuminati. You know, the Illuminati, when they offered you, you know, fame and riches if you join. I'm like, nah, dog, I'm not. He's the one that put the angry face on there. Like, what was you angry about, dog? And why was you trying to set me up with Baba G? And then when I went to Atlanta, you know, with Nature Boy, when I went to Atlanta, why you tried to, you know, you one of them? Yeah, of course he is. Of course he was. You know, because now he makes the video like the average person, with them on the video, with them just with their picture plastered right in the video and just pointing up. He makes videos like them, which, you know, only indicates that, you know, this is them. You know, this is them. You know, and who they are, I really am. You know, I'm a divine, a real one. I come from a real, you know, that's where I come from. And that's not them. Because if it was them, they'd be building. You know, they be building, literally building people up. But they're destroying people. They're building off of destroying people. You know, off of destroying each other. They're building off of that. So, you know, that's just something that you do see. You know, you do see. You even have, you know, like I got my one of my associates right here, and he cause we had made music before, and the music that we made, he had took that down, and he's saying that, you know, music is his gift, you know, and I allowed him to know, dog, sometimes we have other gifts that we overlook. One of his things that he have that he overlooks is that people have more interest in his fathering than his music. So if people are more interested in your fathering, the way that you father your children, then that is, you know, your gift. You know, and I told him that. I literally told him. I literally told that man, you know, if I can bring up, you know what I mean? So I told him right here, just so you can see it. Just so you can see what you know, Yoshi does, you know, and he doesn't respond because when the girl was slandering me, he was one of the people amongst her that was able to be like, hold on, dog, for real? Yoshi like that? But you gotta understand, this person knows me, like he knows me. He's been amongst me, and he was one of the people that should have been in defense of me, as opposed to allowing things to escalate and be mounted up against me behind my back. He was amongst them, and like I know, like I'm telling you, I know that. But I told him to go down your page. What are your most liked posts? Those are the gifts that we overlook. What do you like? What he make a video with his music and might get like 5 likes. He posts pictures with his son and get 60 likes, get 100 likes, get more likes than any other post. So if you're thinking about making it, maybe that is your impetus. Maybe using that as your whole. He washed his son's head, and that got like, you know what I mean. Everybody in his circle liked that post. Shampooing his son's head. But when you make your music, you know, you might get 4 or 5 likes on that, you know. But he thinking that, you know, music is his outlet, and he's a talented person, but the music industry isn't about talent. The music industry is not about talent at all. You know, it's about your ability to influence, and it's about your ability to follow orders. You know, and if you're not one that seems usable, they will overlook you. You know, but you do have God-given gifts, like you're a father, And you're not only a father, but you have autistic children. And autistic children are very special in this world. Why? Because they're not wired the same as everybody else. Everybody else's followers. These are different and outstanding people. You know, they have different qualities than we have. That's normal. And you're able to interact with that. People want to see that. People want to see how you interact with that. You know, and you know, this is something that's intriguing to people. What's uncommon is intriguing. If it wasn't, then I would be just as common and popular as anybody else. You know, and it's nothing for you to get popular. It's nothing for you to establish any kind of fame. It's nothing. You know, you'll have let me see. You can do certain things like this. Matter of fact, here's the conflict, you know, of interest right here. As you can see, you know, as you can see this right here, you know, Black Hebrew Israelites, I'm coming for you. You know, just conflict. Doesn't matter what it is. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're an Israelite, you just want conflict. You don't want change. You don't want unity. You don't want peace. You want, yeah, now I got the word of God and it says this. Hold on. The Bible says you can't wear long hair. Hold on. The Bible says, you know, people doing good works. Well, the Bible says you don't do that. You only through. Hold on. God said that Jesus told me that me understanding the Bible, that there's going to be people that come out greater than him. You're going to be, if you follow his teaching, you're going to be greater than him. There's going to be people that come that's greater. Did he not say that? So, you know, you're still, like I said, it's scapegoatism. You're shifting the blame or shifting the weight on something else because you don't want to do the work. You know, you don't want to do the work. And then when you do have people that say that they do the work, their work is, you know, going to the football game, sitting courtside at football games, you know, over exaggerating, you know, just spreading, you know, gossip, not the gospel, just gossip back and forth, you know. And this is what I mean. My cousin makes videos like this, and he was amongst those that was trying to set me up, you know, when I went to Atlanta. He's being videos like this, and he's not the type of person that makes videos like this. You understand what I told you? He doesn't make videos like that, but he does this all the time. If you can't see it, he's always here. So this is only those people. Doesn't matter what you come underneath. You could come underneath Christianity. You're still one of those people because of what you allow yourself to come into agreement with. You could be anything. Doesn't matter. But what you are is a person that causes and stirs conflict and, you know, division against brethren. I mean, division against brethren. And he's a servant of Christ. You see it in his page. This is who he is. But he states that, you know, KO by the book, word of God. Took this time out to make this page. And, you know, it got 2.7K followers, I mean likes, and then happy faces, smile, and people laughing at that like they just love drama. Just love it. Just love it. You know. And that brings us to, you know, the discussion with the girl. You know, her father had, you know, drug her and beat her in public, and, you know, I wanted to know why no one actually helped her, but they sat there and recorded. You know, they sat there and recorded and just watched. Like I told you, when, you know, righteousness has always been in you. You're just a different being. I'm not this is not exaggerating. My father, in rage to discipline my brother, had reached and grabbed a golf club, just the closest thing to him, and was about to hit him. In the blink of an eye, I jumped on my father's back, and when I'm like 7 or 8. I'm 7 or 8 years old. I don't know how old I was, but I was young. Not no teenager, not no. I was young, at least around about 7 or 8. I had enough sense in me to say no, jump on my father's back, and didn't let him hit my brother with an iron golf club. In rage, he was enraged, furious at him. He did something, I don't know what he did, but he had him in the corner, was about to hit him. I did not let my father hit my brother with a golf club. My mother, right where this girl at, was just sitting there watching, speechless. I didn't let my father hit my brother with an iron golf club. That is very, very significant and powerful. Just to reflect on that and to know that, son, that was a very courageous and merciful act that you did. That was, my father wasn't no joke. And cuz kind of looked like my father wasn't no joke, bruh. My father wasn't no joke. And like I said, it was directed anger. It was towards my brother. He could have slung me off of him, and the closest thing to me was the china cabinet. He could have threw me right into the china cabinet. And yeah, I saved both of them because my brother was definitely about to get hit with a golf club. But we do see that these people are recording this, and they're recording it, and you have to ask, are you recording this for content or for evidence? And again, this was a couple of days ago, 27th, and we do have the peace the peace walk, and there's no rebuttal towards this. There's no kick up towards this. There's no, you want to discuss something, that was very obscene. Men, we have to, our children are not our property to the point where we could do any and everything we want to them. This is why I stated. My people. This isn't my friend. My friend wouldn't allow a lie to be spread about me in the community. But because, matter of fact, his son, I seen him, and when I seen his son they know certain things. They know a good person when they see it. His son was just embracive of me. Yoshi-iye, that's his son's name, autistic, and he was embracive of me. They was walking. I'm like, show his face. What's good, bro? And he was trying to avoid me, but his son was like, nah. You know what I mean? So, yeah. When you want to be a part of the program, you got to have the heart of the program. And if you don't have the heart of the program, you develop the heart of the program. And they are very snake-like. They have a snake-like tendency, to move like a snake, to be sly. But I saw him like, yo, what's up, bruh? Oh, you know what I mean? And yeah, but I can show you, bruh. I could show you better than I could tell you. Let me show you better than I could tell you, bruh. Let me show you better than I could tell you. Well, you can't see that here, but you could probably see likes here, right? But it's very minimal. Is very minimal, But this right here, gets all the applause. You get a lot of applaud for this. You know what I mean? His son was the honorary judge for the day. They love this. You know what I mean? They love this type of stuff. Anything, with his son in it, they love it. You know what I mean? They love it. Even the Farrakhan post. Nobody want to see this stuff from you, bruh. Nobody want to see that stuff. You know. And like I said, you're a supporter, period, just because he's somebody in, you know what I mean? This is good. People don't change when you warn them. They change when it costs them. That is dope. So again, you're not, look, here you go. This is greatness right here. You know what I mean? This is greatness. And he doesn't know that this is a gift to be able to be seen in this light. You know what I mean? Because people need to see this in this light. You know what I mean? They need to see this. And by them seeing this, this creates an impression of him that, son, I'm going to support whatever you do. And that would fuel your music. Because now they see that, okay, some people blow wolf tickets when they rap. Because I was one of the people that blew wolf tickets when I rap. Some things you just say because it sounds good coming out. Like, it just rhymes and it sounds good. So you would get that impression that, oh, that's him. And that's really not him. He's really nothing like that. He's really not like that. I know Yoshi for real, man. Man, Yoshi a sweetheart, bruh. But let music, describe you. A lot of people would give you, a distorted story about you. But you would see them in this light, and regardless what you say, dog, I know you. You an awesome dad, dog. You an awesome father, But that goes back to let me see. To this particular guy, his daughter had did something, and he did all this while it was being recorded. Then you have other people, like I stated, if you really wanted to establish yourself online and have an online presence, all you got to do is just take one of these videos like this and just put yourself in the video, just shaking your head. That's all you got to do, and you'll have engagement. And this is not your standpoint. You don't care for engagement. You care about engaging the people that's engaging and giving them a different perspective from what's being seen. Either you can do that, but again, for me, they would never let that get any kind of air, because what you're going to do is you're going to trigger certain responses. You're going to expose certain things that people simply don't want exposed. You're going to point at the problem and give them the solution to the problem. He had wrath. This is what wrath does. He has to establish some form of patience. Because I have a daughter. And my daughter, she wanted to grow up fast, but my daughter was kidnapped from me, through my child's mother. Her mother kidnapped her and brought her out of state, and she had the courts supporting her. The courts, they knew her family and the county that she's from, and that's the only place that the court was allowed to be held in. So they was in my favor, and then she got with a lawyer. She got not a lawyer. It was a lawyer. She got not a lawyer. I believe it was I don't want to say a public defender, but it was somebody from the courts that came to her aid, that helped her sister out before, and she knew that the girl was wrong, because I went down there because they tried to keep me out of my daughter's life. Like before my daughter was born, I had fell out with my child's mother. She did something that I was like, I'm never going to deal with you again. So at that time, she just was like, okay, cool, you're gonna have a daughter, you'll never see, and your mother's gonna have a granddaughter, she'll never know. But I proved her wrong. Because I went down there and I went and got custody of my daughter. So I have joint custody with her, and she made sure that she kept her away from me, violating court orders. And then she ended up, but this happened for a while. This was something that she did after a few years. But I used to go pick my daughter up, and then they put me on child support, and the child support was so astronomical. Like I told you, they switched my judge that was favorable. He was like, son, what's wrong with you? This man wants to do the right thing, and you're trying to interfere with that. No, it ruled in my favor. Then the next time we went back to court, they had a judge that was in their favor, like a judge that didn't care what I did, didn't care what I said, didn't care nothing. And they gave me the most extreme child support. And that child support, it had I lost my car, lost my home, lost all that stuff. But then, like I told you, the mercy of God allows you to maneuver around that. So this is the reason why a lot of people don't acknowledge the power of God, because they don't see how, or have been in certain situations where the only thing you have is God, and the only thing you can attribute that to is God. In fact, there was a person that stated that he did something good for somebody, and he ended up getting a 50-60, and he credit that to the grace of God, like God. And this is in like a computer group, and a lot of people in these computer groups, they don't believe in God at all, and they started attacking him. And one of the things that they attacked him about was like, son, you give God the glory for getting a computer piece, and there's homeless people and starving people, and people getting killed. My people just got into a coma. You want to give God the glory for, yeah, for something that small, you can give God the glory for, just for lining you up and putting you in a position to receive something that you had your heart set on. You can give God the glory for that. Now, as far as the homelessness and certain things that happen, like violence and things that is you try to credit it to God, and you can't. You have to credit that to mankind not being kind man, not being kind. You know what I mean? That's what you have to credit that to. Mankind not having the ability to be kind to man. That's where you accredit wars and homelessness and people being taken advantage of, child abuse and all that stuff. This is mankind having the ability to be kind, but not wanting to be kind. So this is what you accredit that to, not to God. Like God can just come down and just stop everything right then and there. No, it's up to you to do that. It's up to mankind to do that. This is why you have the authority. You are given the authority to do that. But that you can give God, like me, I give God the credit for everything that I have. Everything. And it's not much. And like I said, it's not what you have, it's what you don't have. It's not what God gives you, it's what God don't give you. It didn't give me a attitude of inappreciative. I'm not an inappreciative person. I appreciate things. The smallest things or the biggest things. And like I said, the more I have, the more I give. The less I have, the more appreciative I am. This is what I know about me, you know? And, you know, that's just something that you have to be, you know, mindful of when understanding what God is. It's his setup. He said that he got. I'm not even sure if I could find it, but he said that he did some good stuff, and you know he went somewhere and he found a 5060. You know what I mean? This is like a high end computer part. Like my computer that I got now, I built this computer. You know, I built it. You know what I mean? I built that computer, and I put the GPU in there. The GPU is the reason why I'm able to record this video right now. It has a GPU in there, and it's running off of NVIDIA broadcast, and you need a RTX GPU, which that's in there. So the greater the GPU, the better the computer, the better the graphics, the better the display, the more you can do with your computer, especially now that it's going to be run AI powered. So he acquired a high-end computer part and accredited that to the glory and grace of God. Like, God is good. God got me this. And, you know, that's what you would accredit that to, God, because God put you in the place for you to receive that, you know. And this is the reason why some people have to be where they're at certain times. If you're online, like in these discussions in here, a lot of people is like, yo, get him, yo, you want to do it, he needs to get, I'm surprised he's still, you know, but your input is different from their input because you allow them to experience what it's like to be one that has mercy, that extend mercy to people in situations like that. So now that they see that, you know, and you're not triggering them to, you know, be the one that jump in front of, you know, the gun, but sometimes you have to jump in front of the gun, you know. And like I stated, not me, I'm not one that I'm not one that you can take advantage or abuse somebody in my presence. I'm going to intervene, whether that person is right or wrong. I'm not going to allow that to transpire. That's just the way that I am, you know. But if, you know, I was her friend, her father would have had to, you know, beat both of us up that day. But his anger was, you know, too excessive. This is why I stated, you know, we have to establish peace. Patience first. Patience is the building block for all other virtues. His patience would have made him slow to anger, and not being that he slowed to anger, he would have had a limit to his anger. The patience controls your wrath. This is the balance of, you know, light and dark, good and bad, virtue and sin. Patience controls that, or either wrath is going to control it. So these are the battles that we're confronted with, and if we're not being able to see that and know what we're up against, we're going to be in a losing battle. And that's what I'm trying to explain to, like, yo, y'all are not giving the people what they need. Y'all are not, son, you keep beating people over the head with the Bible and the Bible and the Bible and the Bible. Okay, cool, it's cool and all that stuff. But how do you get them to be better people? You have to establish these qualities in them, these virtues in them that will help them when they wrestle and toil with sin. And this is what we're up against, our sinful nature, which is our wrathful nature. If you took a look at this video, I'm not going to play this, you know, but I'm not going to play this, you know. I am not going to play this video, you know, but you can see here, this guy drags his daughter by her hair while she's unconscious. You know what I mean? And you know, people do this for content, not to bring awareness, not to say, you know, we got to change or we have to stop this, but because this is a content thirsty people and there's a such thing as going viral, then they're looking for any and everything that they can see that's going to make them go viral. I just got rid of a person off my page that, I used to, be one of their supporters. But she posted somebody on the ground, tweaking and bugging, you know, and they was on the ground tweaking and bugging, like they was literally tweaking, and she got the camera on her, and that's wrong. That is wrong. So let me go ahead and get you out of my circle. I'm not just going to unfriend you. I'm going to block you. Because once I block you, you're going to miss out on certain miracles. You're going to miss out, and that's the thing. I'd be like, man, I have to block this person. Man. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that you wanted to discuss, because you have this female, whoever recorded this video, you so wrong. Please tell me this child went to the hospital and got medical contention. She probably meant attention. I don't condolence to violence, but like I said, we make this about us because we put our face on there, put that picture up there, and engage people in conversations, and then we generate resource and income off of these topics, which is a disgusting thing, as opposed to you generally killing. You make this about yourself. You know what I mean? Like you really, 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 really have something or some input. But when you go to Krista Sophia, she has 44K followers, so you know that you're generating resources from this. You don't care nothing about, you know what I mean, people, because if you did, they treat you the same way they treat me. You really got something to say, but you're very intimidating. If we leave you alone, people might believe in him. You know what I mean? And if they believe in him, they might not believe in us. So, yeah. I'm just showing you that because I didn't know. I just knew she had a big platform that enough to generate resources and income off of it. It's the reason why it's a topic of discussion, not because it's something that's it's not that it's something that people genuinely have a concern for and want to change. Not because of that. It's because it generates engagement, and engagement don't turn us into hate spewing, drama seeking, rage baiting animals. It turned us into that. And like I stated, you would never get me to put my face in a picture, in a comment, in a video that's already viral, and go viral off of it. You would never be able to get me to do that. And this is the reason why certain things remain the same for me, because you're not one that follows trends, but you create them. You're a creator because you come from the creator. So, and not only that, but I did have, a dream about this man the night before last. Like I seen him in a dream. So maybe there was a way for you to reach these people. This is the reason why a lot of people, when they see me, they stay out of my eyesight. They stay out of my eyesight because maybe they know that if I get the vision of you, I can see you somewhere else. Because that's what happened when I went to Philadelphia and I stepped to the 2 police officers out there. You know what I mean? And I started to clean up out there, and I asked them why it's like this out there. One stood right in front of me, the other one, he just kind of backed out of my sight. Was like, I only want you to look at me. You understand? So, yeah. So sometimes it's what some people have, in in them. Like I did see him. I did see him. Like, yo, ain't that the guy? Maybe it's because you watched the video and you was really, you know, um, compelled to speak about it, and it was so laid so much on your spirit that you spiritually connected with them in another reality, because he was sitting on the steps. It was two other people with him right here, and I was like, hold on, that's the guy from. And he wanted me to come over there and freestyle with them, like they wanted to rap. And I was like, nah, I gotta go. And you know what I mean? And I saw him twice in that same dream. So yeah, this is the reason why you know you can't you can't be um, shown certain things, because you become spiritually attached to them. It's the reason why. Some people, we really can't see certain things. You shouldn't allow us to see certain things, because now we're going to be spiritually motivated to address them. And you know that's just what it is. But you wanted to share that with people, because you know it's it's a lot going on that people don't really know how to address, because they don't have the tools to address them. And like I stated, some of the things to address people with is patience. Because my daughter, like I told you, she purposely wanted to get pregnant, and I didn't get upset. That's something that she chose to do. And I'm not gonna say, why you doing that, and treat it any kind of way. Like I told you, when it comes to unconditional love, you don't love anybody no different than the next. I don't love my daughter no different than I love his daughter, no different than I love their daughter. You love everybody the same. This is the reason why a lot of people don't have that, because they love their children more than they love the next people's children. They love this one more than they love that one. And that's not unconditional love. You have love that comes with conditions. I love you more than anybody because you're my daughter, you're my brother, you're my mother, you're my sister. No, I love everybody the same. It's nothing that you can do to make me love this greater than that. And that is the secret of unconditional love. And when you have unconditional love, you have to be unbiased. You have to be unattached to anything in order to love everything equally. That is the secret to unconditional love. You can't be in Christianity and have unconditional love, because first and foremost, you're against Muslims. You might not be against Muslims, but you don't agree with them. You're definitely against tarot readers, because that's divination. That's Satan worship. That's, so you're against them. You can't be, with, you just can't be. This is why you can't be a divided person. You can't be a person that's division, because you're going to lean towards one side as opposed to the other side. So there you have the secret of how to have unconditional love. And for those that think it's a myth, it's not a myth. It's not a myth. It's not. It's not a myth. So you can have unconditional love. And when you do, you can't have a stipulation or a condition on love. Whether it's your mom or the next person's mother, you love them all the same. Whether it's that person's brother or your brother, you love them all the same. Whether it's a person that violated you or it's a person that's treating you, the best in the world, love them all the same. It's unconditional love. Well, he loved me more, so I love them more. They hate me, so I don't love them at all. It's unconditional. It's unconditional. So there you have it. There you have it. Unconditional love. Do I hate this man for doing this? No. He just needs healing. Everybody needs healing. Like I stated, what's any different than what he just did than what Trump just did? What Trump just authorized? A bombing in a country that we stated that it was, religiously fueled ISIS and this terrorist group over there, and they killing Muslims killing Christians, so we gotta bomb them. And we got a wicked female rap artist that promoted lesbianism and all that nasty stuff she said to come and agree with us, and now everything is all hunky-dory, so we're going to go because we got the right person to come on the front line, and she's a rapper and she has a huge following, and she said it's okay and she commends me for it, so I'm going to do it. No. Nah. And that's the thing. We do have we had this statement over here, where there was a person that attacked, like I said, they attacked
what really started
this female right here, and she's talking about the gang stalking program and stuff like that, and she's speaking it from a tarot reader's perspective. Scapegoat, organized crime, sacrifice, handlers, corruption, Freemason, watch list, gang stalking, all this stuff. So this is something that I don't know that ended up in my my feed, but I do know, like, come on, bro, this, what I mean, because of the platform, you're not that. Like I stated, they shadow ban. When you're targeted, when you're one of these people, they don't matter who like you, they will prevent you from having reach. They will prevent you from that. So this is the telltale sign if you're really that, or if you're really not. But spiritual protection gave the secret society bubble guts. So this is what her message is. So we have Adam Billings who come on there, and he says, I'm really genuinely curious, Christian to Christian, what is the energy reading? So she let him know, like, son, I am not a Christian, neither was Christ, which is truth. Christ was never a Christian.
You did.
I mean, Christ was never. So you let him know, like, yo, son, if that's your belief, okay, cool, bro, leave people alone, cuz. I mean, let her, that's what she believes. If that's your belief, you can't come and, you can't come and mess with people. This is terrorism. You're being a terrorist. You're bringing terror to them by picking on people because they believe in something other than you. So what he says is Christ is the truth. Anything outside of that is a doctrine of hell. That's this belief. Now, if you tell him personally, like, son, if he was, to tell you who Christ was, I'm asking her a question. That's my thing. Gang stalkers target light bearers, and Christ is the light. Know what I mean? So, if you believe that, okay, cool. Now, alright, I know all about it. I experienced the same exact thing. I experienced people, spying on me, and I could sense them. I could understand when they're spying on me. I can understand when my mother and my brother's not right. My mother and my brother's not my mother and my brother. Didn't Christ say that? Christ didn't say that? Yes, he did. Who my mother and brother looking for you? My mother and brother looking for me? Where? This is my mother and brother right here. What they got going on, I ain't with that. Why? Because they up to something. You know that. True or not? Did not the devil offer Christ fame and fortune and Christ refused? Do I not have that same rapport? Did I not say, nah, dog, I'm alright? You know, I experienced everything Christ experienced. So, by you experiencing everything Christ experiencing, then as one that loves Christ, you should have a relation to me. You should say, how can I be assistant to you, bruh? But instead, what you said is, I copy. I appreciate your sympathy in relation to this evil reality. God bless you. I thought you loved Christ, dog. You're not gonna be like, hold on, dog. How can I be supportive? You know, you experience everything Christ experienced. Maybe, you know, there's something in you that's Christ-like. You know, maybe there's something in you that's Christ-like. You know, but then when you do go on my page, you see the light on my face. You see lights in my face. You understand? So there's a light on you. Then maybe you may be worthy of gang stalking. You know, but you let these people tell it, bro. Like I told you.
You damn right they gotta make you look like the bad person.
Man, damn right they gotta make me look like the bad person. But yeah, man. Yeah, dog. People is funny, man. But yeah, this is just a part of the devil's playground. You know what I mean? And like I stated, they allow, you know, this to go on, you know, because if there's an end to it, then they would definitely put an end to it. But this is the income generator where money is more important than the person. You know, money is more important than a person. But, you know, like I stated, you're needed on these platforms. Maybe not YouTube, maybe not anywhere, but as far as you being interactive with people, because you're not, you know, swayed by anybody. Nobody, like, you're not superstitious or overzealous about certain things, or you're not arrogant. Your approach isn't arrogant. Your approach is matter of factly, and it's the confidence that you get, not the arrogance that you get, but the confidence that you get to speak about certain things and to address certain things, and to know that you're coming from a righteous standpoint where others may come from, you know, a supposed I'm right standpoint, because I'm in this, I'm right. This is what this says, but so I'm right. And you know, we do know that with things like I told you, you cannot. You have to understand. Some people, you know, are returnees. You know what I mean? And like I stated, when you return, you come back with, you know, knowledge from, you know, the other side. You know, and some people hate that you know that, you know, because that's part of certain things that they try to keep, you know, hidden, you know, about that, you know, but yeah.